Previously on Midlifing.
Well, it's not sharing. It's actually, I think it might be the worst possible thing. Because did you ever have, it might be the worst possible thing given what you've just said. Did you ever do subjects at high school where you'd be in the class and the teacher would come in and say, okay, we've got a test today, meaning that you didn't know you were going to have a test?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've got one of those for you.
Great, okay. Crack on.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Now that you're comfortable with Hobbits, question 3, most important historical or current leader?
Oh.
Could be dead or alive.
I think, oh, okay.
And of course you have to show you're working, in the sense you have to tell us why.
Yeah, no,
of course
I
you have to
get
tell us
that.
why. I mean, it's if you just...
I'm going to say Justin Trudeau.
Oh!
And though he is not without problems.
Talk about... I love this. This is an exam in understatements.
Although he is not without problems.
Yeah.
I have been impressed with his capacity to apologise. Was that a sneeze, or was that like just... Oh, okay, you are sneezing. Because I thought that was just an explosion of derision.
No, it's sneezing, yes. Big day in London and out in amongst the grasses yesterday.
Ah, right. So you're still a little bit polleny.
I'm polleny.
I forgot that you were hay fevery.
Ugh.
Soz. I think probably
Because of his ability to you're choosing because
To
of his
apologise.
ability to apologise.
yeah, I appreciate people. I mean, and I'm choosing a leader rather than a politician.
Yeah.
Because if we were talking about politician, I'd say OAC, undoubtedly, hands down.
Really?
Yeah.
AOC, yeah.
Did I say OAC?
I thought you said OAC, yeah.
So 2 vowels and a consonant.
In some order.
In some order. I find her ability to ask questions and hold people to account. I mean, Harriet Harman was good. But they're not leaders. So I think probably I'm coming to a gentle realisation that I struggle with people in positions of leadership.
Yeah.
In terms of thinking of them as being good. I can point to politicians who have made change who I think are important and valuable.
I mean, I said most important.
Yeah, I know, but you did say leader, didn't you?
I did say leader, yeah. But I didn't
Yeah,
I didn't necessarily mean political leader, but of course they almost, I mean, I guess you could say, leader of a football team, but...
Well, that's, yeah, I mean...
Not like you.
John Carpenter.
Oh, a leader of the film industry.
Leader of a set. And he made
Yeah.
he made The Thing. I mean, what's not to...
From Justin Trudeau to AOC to John Carpenter. Thank you. If we ever needed some sort of strange summary of Lee David Miller, there it is, right there.
I mean, what more can I say?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, then at the same time, he's a... Oh, God. He's a Minister of Health.
Yeah.
Somebody who's a leader, because then I guess... Would it be...
Who's the guy that lost his job during the pandemic?
No, I was thinking...
He went on the TV show. What was his name?
Matt Handcock?
Matt Handcock. If you're not from Britain, just look up Matt Handcock. You really have to. He really does. He really lives up to his surname. It is extraordinary.
And honestly, if you have ever wanted to have a mental image, you're probably better off thinking Hat Mancock. Because that's practically dickhead, isn't it?
Wow. I wouldn't care what party he was from. I'd just be like, oh my God, what a shameful human being. Or shameless human being.
I guess historically, I would probably say something about Atlee and Bevan.
Oh, are they post-war?
Post-war,
So health,
Clement Atlee and Aneurin Bevan, and one
NHS
is
sort of.
Prime Minister. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess if I had to boil everything away, that's where I would go. That's what. Yeah, I'm going to rescind my previous offers, and I'm going to go with those two.
Great. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. And also, you didn't have to show you were working because you were basically working as you were going along.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the most irreplaceable feature of your smartphone?
Text. Ability to text people.
Yeah.
I can live without every other feature, but not to be able to send text messages would be a thing I would struggle with. Because they're awesome.
They are awesome.
I love the text. I also, because it's a smartphone, I like the way that you can give them confetti or balloons, or you can make them smack.
You and Bob basically introduced me to those features. I had no idea they existed.
We've introduced a lot of people to that.
Yeah. I like that you both found out. I am assuming it was Bob that found out as well.
Yeah, early adopter, of course.
Yeah, such an early adopter. Okay, question 5. Feelings that dominate your life.
Anxiety. Oh, God, that was a bit too quick and honest. Worry.
So, anxiety,
worry. Worry. But I think it's worry rather than anxiety. Because I think anxiety is a feeling that feels like it's... oh, there we go. Feels. It seems as though that is sort of diagnosable and somebody could give you a pill. I just worry about shit.
All right. Is it because I think anxiety is also the idea that you are not able to cope with whatever it is that's but
Yeah,
is it feel like that, or is it
No,
not
it's
as
definitely
strong?
worry. It's like, oh, okay, right. So, how do I do? Basically, my worrying is how I prepare to be in the world.
Yeah. And where do you feel it most in your body?
Tummy.
What'd you say? Tummy.
In my tummy,
Yeah.
all the time, in my tummy.
Oh,
And it takes,
poverino.
if it gets really bad, it expands up from my tummy into my lungs. But it will take a long time to get to my chest.
Yeah.
And if it's in my chest, I'm no longer worrying, I'm anxious.
And is it? These are bonus questions. Are they? Is it daily?
Yeah. But, yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
Question 6.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly related to the previous one. Conspiracy theory that you're most likely to believe, or that is most likely to be true. I know they're two different questions.
Oh, God. I've just listened to an entire 8-episode podcast series on conspiracy theories.
Oh,
have
so
you
you've
listened to it as well?
No, I haven't. And so, if you were to ask me this question, which I hope you never will, I would just like, because I just don't pay them any attention. Yeah.
So, it's because there's a podcast on BBC Sounds called Mariana in Conspiracy Land.
And that's the 8-episode podcast you've just listened to.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Right. Okay. Starts in Totnes.
It starts and features Totnes heavily. And it names... Have I talked to you about all the way during the pandemic there were stupid fucking idiots walking down the road with placards saying, 5G causes, I don't know, for you to...
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, it wasn't just in Totnes, of course. There was a little bit
no,
of
it wasn't just in Totnes.
I think,
but
and
Totnes...
it was also, wasn't it, who was... Oh, it was Bill Gates and 5G, wasn't it? Bill Gates.
Oh, yeah. Bill Gates and 5G and inoculation and we're being injected with trackers and all of that sort of bullshit. Well, so I've been listening to a debunking of conspiracy theories, and I really struggle to imagine which one I would be most likely to believe, because
they're also absurd.
I mean, yeah, Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, and again, I think perhaps it's because I've spent my entire life with people who find stuff out that it's hard for me to imagine not asking for 2 or 3 opinions before I make a decision on something.
Yeah, so you don't tend to just believe.
No. I mean, anecdotally, I'll do that really annoying thing where I'll repeat something, but I'll say, "Oh, I heard this thing. I read it about in the paper. No idea if it's any." Yeah, and you go to the multiple episodes of this podcast to hear me do that. I don't always triangulate and check multiple sources for daily conversation, but I can't imagine a scenario in which I'm trying to think of, a conspiracy theory that doesn't just sound nonsensical.
Yes, I mean, the one that's sort of coming to mind is the possibility that Kennedy wasn't killed by a lone gunman, meaning that it was he was killed by a single person, but that it was part of an entire, plot. That's I could swallow that, even though there's zero.
See, now that the thing is, though, that for me is one of those that feels less like a conspiracy theory, which I know is exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah,
but it's more about. It's like, okay, we've got a chocolate cake, and now we're just going to scrape some of the icing off, and we're going to replace it with different icing. The fundamental fact that he got shot in the head hasn't changed.
Yes, but
so I sort of like. Oh no, I get the rest of it, but it's like where I struggle with the conspiracy theories is the idea that the vaccine put trackers into my body.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
where it's like, come on.
So there's no element of believability, and or that these somehow the more recent ones you're describing are so patently absurd.
Yeah. But also the things like, we didn't land on the moon, and it was
Hollywood.
What's his face? Stanley Kubrick, who directed it.
That's right.
I'm just like, that's just again totally unbelievable, because Stanley Kubrick would take far too long to film, and he would have mentally
cast
tortured...
Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman.
Oh, well, I was thinking more that he would have mentally tortured Buzz Aldrin so that he had a breakdown. Like poor Shelley Duvall, just by screaming at her for like 15 hours. So it's like, did they all come back with PTSD? No. Well, probably they weren't filmed by...
it was a much more relaxing experience for them.
Exactly, yeah. Possibly being burnt up into
one giant step for Stanley Kubrick. Okay.
There we go. So I don't know if that answers your question.
It doesn't really. But it does really. We get a bit of it. I mean, there's some... I would love to go into that, but that's not really in the spirit of this pop quiz, really, because there's something about belief in there, which I've just been reading quite a lot about why it is that we believe things and what it means to win. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it because it is it's another episode. So, question 7. By the way, I'm picking the order as I'm going, so I'm saying question 7 as if it has always been question 7, but I'm adjusting them depending on the length of your answer, etc. Question 7, what are you most proud of in your life?
Bob.
Question 8, croissants or pain au chocolat?
Oh, you bastard. Oh, you dirty, low-down, rotten bastard. Oh, God. Oh, this is hard.
Is it really?
So, yeah, because my immediate mouth says, like, pain au chocolat, don't be stupid, like, get the chocolate, get the chocolate.
But...
Then the other part of me goes, but if I have a croissant, I can put jam on it, or
chocolate
I can
in
put
it.
Nothing on it, or... And this is where I get really excited. I can put cheese and ham on it.
Oh, God. It's a no-brainer, really, isn't it?
It's the croissant.
Question 9. Most beautiful sound.
I mean, I want to say Bob's laughter, because that makes me laugh. But that would be...
I wish you could record a little bit of Bob laughing insert it here into the podcast
I'm just not going to, because if I was to approach with a photo, you just go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
Stop
it would because it is a very special laugh. I think all people's laughs are special. I think there's something really, really beautiful about. But yes, Bob does have a something.
Exactly. It is like it's like being
a cackle kind of.
It's like being barked at by somebody.
It's totally.
But who and then it's lovely. It makes me laugh. However, if I'm honest, I'm going to say it's birdsong. And I pretty much am including all birdsong into this. I mean, I do love a blackbird. I do love sparrows doing a little cheep. I love the cooing of a wood pigeon. We've got wood pigeons
What about the little
in our garden again.
Sound of magpies? The magpies.
Oh, I was going to say, we've got some jackdaws on the roof who are going like, and they're like, they just have these beautiful conversations. I love a seagull. I don't like the distressed seagull, but I like the little talking they do to one another, which just sounds so giddy with joy when they have these chats to one another across the rooftops. I love the sound that a stork's beak makes, which I know is not technically song, but it's how they communicate to one another.
When they're clacking,
they just clack their beaks together, and that is just phenomenal. I love an owl. I love standing in the garden after dark and just hearing a out in the distance. And the great thing about living in Totnes is, despite the fact that it's a town and I can go and get cheese without putting shoes on, we've just got a shit ton of birds around us as well. So it's always noisy. Always noisy. Birdsong. I'm going to go with...
I'm really stuck on going get cheese without putting shoes on.
Sorry. There's parakeets in the garden in Lisbon, and I love them because they just scream at each other.
Yeah, they really do, don't
they? The way they fly, they're like dive bombers.
Yeah, I think of them as Spitfires, the Spitfires of the
They are like that. Yeah, I love them. I love listening to them talk to one another. We've also got we've got collared doves and blackbirds in Lisbon. So there's some overlap of songs. Lots of swallows as well, and they're just a bit sort of cheapy.
Wow, good, fantastic answer. So, question 10: if you had the power, which of course you do, because everyone knows that you are pretty much the Vice Chancellor's right-hand man. If you had the power, to make one change at work, what would it be?
The change at work would not be about my specific work.
No, I guess that's not even what I was asking, but it's interesting. Yeah, but I realised as I said it that you could one change about yourself. But no, I didn't mean that. I meant much more like that you really did have a whole lot of power, and you're going, we've got to do this now at this institution.
I think what I would want to do is, and this is pie in the sky, but I would want to disaggregate the relationship between student numbers and income to universities.
Wow.
So that there was an ability for universities to step back from being bad businesses.
Yeah.
Businesses that are always on the back foot because they have been given a model which requires an exponential growth in undergraduate students to ensure that they continue to be financially stable. And the only way that they can stay stable and level is by growing, and by growing student numbers, and that's just to kind of keep the amount of money that they had 20 years ago, which means that as the institutions grow in order to keep afloat, all staff, professional service staff, academic staff, cleaning staff have got more and more and more and more and more work out.
That is living the neoliberal dream, isn't it, really?
Yeah. The last place I worked at, the majority of the cleaning team were over 50.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, what I was meaning is that they weren't a young band of cleaners. They were all onto their second or third careers.
Yeah.
The Vicky who cleaned the corridor that I was on, she used to run care homes. She used to work in she used to work in funeral homes and dress and make up the corpses. She'd had an incredibly rich life.
Wow.
And this was the job that she was doing to sort of take her to retirement. But the way that they were being treated by their managers, who had, of course, who had been effectively, they were a franchise rather than an institutional. They did that thing where the university gets it cheaper by going out to contract.
Yeah.
And so, so it's. I know that we've got the marking and assessment boycott going on, with some institutions doing 100% docking of pay. Thank you, Roehampton. And where's the other one? Leeds.
Are they really?
I think 100% docking of pay. So making direct action through unionisation almost impossible for people to do,
to sustain.
And I understand. I'm just going to leave those brackets open. I understand. ... But I know that there's those kinds of conversations that happen
create a
all
culture
the time,
of compliance, though, isn't it? That's creating a culture of compliance, which is like it's basically killing. It's killing. It's just killing an organisation. As soon as you're in that kind of world where you're having to force people to comply, you're basically the ship is well and truly sinking.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2 years from now or 5 years from now or 20 years from now,
absolutely.
It's gone.
It's gone, exactly. And I feel that while those conversations are probably closer to my work lived experience, I've never been a cleaner in a university, watching people who I would see every day have to work faster and they'd go from one corridor to two corridors to an entire building, and that was a shift in 18 months.
Yeah, it's basically Amazoning. It's basically Amazoning those places, isn't it?
Yeah, and then also seeing that there was like middle management that was put in to oversee how hard they were working and to make sure that they were kept to time, and just thinking,
wow,
you two would just put some fucking rubber gloves on and get some work done. God, wouldn't that be better? But that's not how these systems work. So I think if we could disaggregate the relationship between student numbers and the financial health of a university, that would make everybody's life significantly better. And I realise that that's not a VC's possible.
Yeah, because it's really policy. It's actually policy.
Oh, absolutely. It's a Minister of Education, which is and
C above Matt Handcock, former Minister. Oh no, he was health. Sorry,
wasn't he? It was the other one. The fucking Gavin Williamson was the.
I don't know.
That got on everybody's tits.
I don't know. Okay. By the way, just as a little aside here, if you were, I read this week. I read a little book by. Have you heard of a person called Seth Godin?
No, I don't believe I have. Seth
Godin is a very famous. I mean, he's a blogger really, but he's written 20 plus books on marketing and management. They're little books. This latest book is called The Song of Significance, and I can almost hear you gipping while I'm saying these things. Mm-hmm. But it's very interesting, that book, as a kind of blue pill. I can never remember which colour was supposed to be the right colour. The blue pill to the sort of red pill you've just described in terms of the university or in terms of institutions and organisations. He's basically calling out all those infrastructures of compliance and measurement or evaluation through measurement. And it's a really beautiful little book, which is sort of filled with hope. And it's so easily applicable to the kinds of things you've just been talking about. Totally recommend it.
Thank you. I like anything that has hope in it. And I don't mean to sound hopeless.
It is really full of hope.
Next time on Midlifing.
Would you prefer £10 million, evil laugh, or someone to point out all your faults?
£10 million? What's wrong with you? I don't give a shit about self-improvement. I want to buy sweets.